If you're ready to leave the United States but you have pets and you have questions about how to get your pets to a different country, then this video will cover most of that. Step one is going to be researching the country that you're bringing that pet to. There are some countries that only allow certain types of pets, and so those requirements around those type of pets have to be met to even bring them into the country. So depending on the country, that can include microchipping, it can include vaccinations. Some countries require a quarantine, so that's why it's important to understand that country's specific protocol. Countries will also ban specific breeds such as pit bull terriers, so you have to check and see, just because it's a dog, what breed is it, and is that breed okay for that country? After you figure out the requirements and you're ready to start doing the steps, it's also important to understand the time frames for that. So certain vaccinations, mainly rabies, but some countries have more than one vaccination that they require, have to be done in a specific time frame. The same goes with, you'll have to get usually a travel certificate from the vet, and it's usually, vets will know about this. It'll be a specific standard test and cost, and you get a certificate that basically says your pet is good to travel and enter another country. That travel document usually needs to be completed. Like I said, it depends on the country, but when we went to Mexico, it had to be completed within 10 days of travel. So we couldn't do it a couple months in advance. We had to book that appointment within that time frame of when our dog would be crossing into that country. Around the same time that you're researching what pets can be let into what countries, and if there are any breed restrictions, while you're doing all of that, it's also good to understand the airlines, because there's going to be restrictions around airlines that are not always going to coincide with the restrictions in the country. So you have to find flights that are going to allow your dog a certain size. If they're bigger, they'll probably have to be put into a crate into the cargo section. Some planes dedicate like temperature safe, like they put a lot more work into you feeling comfortable with your dog being stored in a crate, in their cabin. Different flights or different airlines charge differently for different pets. Some have standard fees, some have a requirement that you have to purchase another seat next to you. It depends on, there's a limit to how many dogs or cats or whatever the animal is. So there's so much research and preparation that has to go in just to, how am I going to get my pet to this other country? I have to meet the requirements of the airline. I have to meet the requirements of the country. So that part takes some finessing, and I did add to my spreadsheet, I did 15 airlines that leave the US and go international. So hopefully it covers a large majority of those airlines. And I put down all of their requirements on that free Google sheet in my profile. And I also did, I think, 20 countries requirements for pets. So it's a good jumping off point. I didn't cover every country or every airline, but it's good to see what each airline can look at. A couple of things to think about before and when you travel is that if you're doing a longer flight, you may want to purposely have some stopping points so that you can take your animal to relieve itself and help them feel comfortable. So if they're in a carrier and they have to stay under the seat, just think about how long they're going to be enclosed for. So we did that. We split it up so that we could have time that we could take her to have a potty break in the airport. And that's another thing, if you didn't know, a lot of airports do have places where you can take pets to relieve themselves, and it's usually indoors, it's connected within the airport. Another thing to think about is your anxiety levels of your pet traveling. You'll get this information from your vet, but they did offer some medicine to help Paisley kind of relax and knock out. And we just did half a serving and it was enough. When you're leaving the States, you have to go through TSA, and usually how that part works is you put all of your belongings on the trays, you push it through, and then you're hand holding your animal and walking through security. And what they did for us the couple times, and I don't know if they do it for every pet, but they wipe on their paws, they wiped on my hands to test for something, and then we were good to go. It was really simple going through TSA. Then when you land in the country and you're going through customs there, they're going to have their own procedure. And if you've looked it up ahead of time, then you already know what you're going to have to do. If you're going to have to quarantine, it's going to be a completely different procedure than taking your animal over to a desk that does their own check. So in Mexico, when we got there, we had to take Paisley to this place, and basically what they did is they put gloves on, they picked Paisley up, they like looked around, made sure that, you know, she was not sick, that she was healthy, nothing crazy going on with her. They gave her back to us and we were done. It was a really fast process. Some countries that require you to have a vet visit with their vet in the country within so many days of arrival, so just pay attention to that as well. It sounds like a lot of information, but once you have the country, that's the biggest step, is knowing exactly what that country allows, so then you know how to follow up those next few steps. I think I covered the main talking points and explanation of how to travel with pets, but if I didn't, or you want more clarity, feel free to leave comments. And then people who have traveled with pets, especially larger pets, because we don't have that experience, we'd love to hear about it in the comments.